In June 2024, Russia and China quietly began laying the groundwork for a new geopolitical gambit. They called it the Arctic Express, a bold initiative to create a year-round navigable route through the Arctic Ocean. One Chinese company, in close partnership with Russian stakeholders, proposed building a joint fleet to dominate this frigid corridor. Some vessels have already begun testing the route, navigating the icy waters with cautious optimism. This Arctic passage is no ordinary route. It is now the shortest maritime link connecting East Asia, Southeast Asia, and the industrial hubs of Northern and Western Europe. Its strategic value is immense, and as a result, it has become a focal point of global attention. Nations across the world are watching with increasing urgency as China and Russia accelerate development, aiming to fully open the route by 2025. But just as they gain momentum, a new contender emerges. In early 2025, after retaking office, Donald Trump announced a sweeping plan to review and assert control over the world's 7 most critical maritime shipping lanes. Among them, the Arctic route. The United States is no longer observing. It is preparing to compete. In March 2025, Trump met with the president of Finland. Behind the official diplomacy, one key objective emerged. The United States intended to purchase 48 icebreakers, a move that signaled not just ambition, but an escalation. The Arctic was no longer neutral. It had become a theater of rivalry between 3 great powers, China, Russia, and the United States. The question now looms large. Why does the U.S. want control of this frozen frontier? And can it wrest dominance away from the East? The so-called Arctic route isn't a single lane, but a triad of corridors. The Northern Sea Route, the Northwest Passage, and the Transpolar Sea Route. The Soviets had explored and partially opened these routes as early as the 19th century, but even in the 21st, their usability remained limited due to ice coverage. Ships required icebreaker escorts even during summer. The brief seasonal window for safe passage lasted only a few weeks. For years, the Arctic remained underutilized, too dangerous, too remote. But climate change altered the landscape. As Arctic glaciers receded at unprecedented rates, the route's potential was unlocked. By 2014, cargo traffic had reached 36 million tons. Chinese vessels carried much of it. As China emerged as the world's largest trading power, Russia recognized its own opportunity. In 2017, it extended an invitation to China, join us. Together, they began building the infrastructure, the fleets, and the strategy necessary to bring the Arctic route to life. By 2024, China had assembled an icebreaker fleet capable of operating year-round. By 2027, the route is expected to be fully navigable in all seasons. With Russia controlling key ports, deploying advanced missile systems, and establishing supply and rescue bases along the route, control of the Arctic is rapidly solidifying. Russia's long-term vision is clear: to increase cargo volume to 150 million tons by 2035. And yet the United States has decided to intervene. Trump's 2025 directive, titled Special Review of Transit Restrictions on Key International Maritime Routes, places the Arctic route alongside 6 other strategic choke points: the Strait of Malacca, the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, the Strait of Gibraltar, the English Channel, and the Singapore Strait. Together, these 7 passages carry nearly 80% of the world's traded goods. The U.S. sees a path to reasserting economic dominance not through trade deals, but by controlling the arteries of global commerce. Already, American interests are acquiring ports near the Panama Canal, with plans to place them under military oversight. The Arctic is next. Trump's plan to purchase 48 icebreakers isn't just a fleet expansion. It's a bid to outpace both China and Russia. Today, Russia commands 42 icebreakers, more than half the world's total. China operates only 4, but they are advancing quickly. The United States is betting on numbers and speed. The strategic importance of the Arctic cannot be overstated. The Northern Sea Route alone stretches 5,600 kilometers from the Bering Strait to the Barents Sea, skirting Russia's northern coast. It offers immense savings, up to 40% in distance and 10 to 15 days in sailing time compared to the Suez Canal. Russia already treats this stretch as internal waters, imposing tolls of $100,000 to $200,000 per vessel, and requiring advance notification for passage. With more than a dozen ports and over 100 berths, it is a heavily fortified trade corridor, backed by military defense systems. Then there's the Transpolar Sea Route, cutting straight through the Arctic Ocean, from the Bering Strait to the North Atlantic. This corridor passes through international waters, outside any single nation's jurisdiction. In theory, it remains free and neutral. But as the ice disappears and global powers stake their claims, neutrality may not last long. The Arctic is no longer a frozen wilderness at the edge of the map. It is now a contested highway, a commercial frontier, and a flashpoint in a rapidly shifting global order. The race is no longer to explore, but to control, and the outcome could reshape global trade for generations. It lies within Russia's exclusive economic zone, carved out by geography and fate, closer to the North Pole, where the ice grows thicker, more relentless than almost anywhere else on Earth. Here, ice sheets stretch 3 to 4 meters deep year-round. For most of the year, these waters are frozen solid, impassable without the brute force of massive icebreakers. Only for a fleeting window each summer does the Transpolar Sea Route briefly come alive. And even then, the cost of forcing a path through its unforgiving expanse is staggering. Russia, for all its ambition, doesn't maintain it regularly, yet somehow so against all odds. This remains the most promising corridor in the Arctic's icy web of trade routes. To the west, the Northwest Passage winds through a labyrinth of ice and archipelagos, a narrow, treacherous path stretching over 5,800 kilometers, from the Bering Strait to Baffin Bay and the Atlantic. Canada claims it as internal waters, demanding that all ships report in. But the United States and the European Union resist, insisting the passage is international. This dispute simmers year after year, a cold war of jurisdiction beneath layers of Arctic frost. The ice here is deceptive, thinner than Russia's route, yet no less dangerous. Floating icebergs drift silently among the narrow waterways, threatening to crush the unprepared. Even in summer, few ports exist. Infrastructure? Virtually non-existent. Canada possesses 7 icebreakers, but none are heavy-duty. The nation simply cannot keep up with the demand for year-round maintenance. Still, the rewards are tantalizing. Ships that brave this route can slash 40% off their voyage time compared to the Panama Canal. But it's a gamble, one where the odds are stacked against all but the most well-equipped. For the United States, this is more than a shipping route. It's a strategic dream. A path that bypasses Russian control, linking directly to the eastern seaboard of North America. Among the 3 Arctic routes, this is one of the 2 the U.S. covets most. If, and it's a big if, the U.S. could field a sufficient fleet of powerful icebreakers, it could dominate the passage, starting from Alaska and maintaining a secure corridor. But Canada stands in the way, underpowered and overstretched. This is why Trump once eyed Greenland and Canada not just as neighbors, but as geopolitical keys to Arctic dominance. Imagine this. The U.S. pressures Canada to relinquish control of the Northwest Passage. At the same time, it tightens its grip on Greenland, a massive, icy sentinel between 2 oceans, rich with rare earth metals, oil, gas, even gold. Whoever holds Greenland holds the gateway between the Arctic and the Atlantic. But would Denmark ever sell it? That remains a dangerous unknown. Selling Greenland could trigger retaliation, economic, political, even military, from Russia and China, who are watching every move. Meanwhile, the U.S. sets its sights on another prize, the Transpolar Sea Route, the crown jewel of Arctic navigation. No single country controls it completely. If America can rapidly build a fleet of next-generation icebreakers, it could push its way to the front of the line, writing the rules through the International Maritime Organization and seizing a commanding lead. This isn't just about shipping lanes. It's about nuclear submarines patrolling silent and unseen, about securing vast stretches of ocean for reconnaissance, transport, and trade. The Transpolar Corridor is the battleground of the future. Compared to the heavily contested Northern Sea Route, which Russia sees as sacred, the Transpolar Route offers the U.S. a chance to make bold moves without sparking direct confrontation. A lower-risk, high-reward scenario. But will the American strategy work? For now, the odds aren't in its favor. The U.S. may dream of buying Greenland, but Greenland isn't just land, it's leverage. It's a vital choke point where the Arctic and Atlantic meet. And if it slips into U.S. hands, Denmark would not just lose territory, it would lose a massive source of income and risk alienating powerful global players. Trump himself admitted the scale of what's needed, over 40 advanced icebreakers. At least 15 to 20 would be required for Arctic patrol and maintenance alone. Another 5 to 7 for Antarctic missions. The rest, 10 to 12 vessels, would support oil platforms, supply routes, and even new port construction in the Arctic. Russia, meanwhile, already dominates the ice. And China, calling itself a near-Arctic nation, is making moves through its Ice Silk Road, investing aggressively. Finland, designer of 60% of the world's icebreakers, is crucial, but its shipyards can't meet the scale. At China's current pace of 165 days per icebreaker, it would take 21 years to build the fleet America envisions. Time is running out. By 2030, Russia and China are projected to fully open the Arctic route. Once that happens, the door may close on America's ambitions. Its late entry into this icy contest could cost it dearly. So the question remains, can the United States capture the Arctic's future, or will it be left in the cold? To stay ahead on this unfolding geopolitical race, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll keep bringing you the most urgent, high-stakes stories shaping our world.